So, greetings, dear friends, and welcome to another Aging While Black Live, where we gather on a monthly basis to have important conversations that center Black elders, the Black aging experience, the realities of Black aging in America. We begin, as always, by sharing that Aging While Black is a multifaceted platform that elevates the voices of Black elders by amplifying their stories, perspectives, and realities. We generate collective learning and action around the systemic inequities faced by aging Black people and co create policy and people driven responses for a better life. I am truly excited today to welcome my friend Larry Bryant to awB Live. Larry, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Been looking
So
forward to
I,
this conversation for a while.
as have I, and I just have to set the context for our audience, for those who will view this conversation. In March, I guess, of this year, I was boarding a plane, getting ready to go to On Aging 2024, and open up my social media, and there is a mention of Aging While Black. This brother is getting ready to leave New York. He's excited to go to On Aging, but he's also excited to connect with Aging While Black. And I responded, and Larry and I connected at On Aging. He was a regular in the awB Learning Center, and we have just maintained a friendship since then. And so, who would have thought that we'd end up here in this conversation?
Yes, yes. I should have been working, but I was on social media, and that's how we got connected. So there you
Oh,
go.
okay. Well, see, there's good that came out of it.
Yeah.
So, Larry, over the last few days, we've shared a bit about you and your work. But how would you introduce yourself to our community?
How would I introduce myself? Well, I'm Larry Bryant. I'm a native Washingtonian. I'm actually here in the District of Columbia today for work. Um, I am the oldest of six. Uh, I am a father. I am a husband. I am also a Black man living with HIV for the last 38, 39 years. And I would like to consider myself as one of the group of survivors that I work with and support and help elevate and tell the stories and share experiences of others who have survived with HIV and living and thriving in their lives today, particularly those of uh, uh, people of color, Black people, brothers and sisters where I'm from, but all across the country. And being able to share those experiences and make those connections is something that it's what I live for.
So, thank you so much for sharing that, and we will delve a bit more deeply into that in just a moment. But one of the places that we start this conversation each month is, what does the concept aging while black bring to mind for you?
Wow, that's so layered, especially a week after our quote unquote Independence Day in this country.
Yeah.
Um, Aging while Black uh, is it in this country in particular means so many different things. It means it's a collection of all the experiences we've endured, we've survived, even when folks didn't want us and still don't want us. We endure and survive, um, and we bring so much life and energy uh, what in whatever we do. And when you talk about the inventions, the just the collective framework that this country has created and continues to create and develop, not just in this country, but the reverberations around the world. as an African American in this country, I feel honored to be a part of that rhythm, be a part of that beat that reverbs around the country, and that experience, I think, unique to its own, but certainly we share those same tragic uh, experiences as other people of color in this country do and have. Um, I'm looking forward to our growth and our continue to learn and develop our culture and evolve into as the next generation comes along with us in this fight, in this battle of existence. And I'm just so excited to be able to help build that bridge of intergenerational cultural connection that goes forward in all facets of our lives.
Thank you so much for that rich conversation. I do want to highlight uh, that part of our work at Aging While Black and a special project that I'm working on that I will
Mhm.
share with the world here soon is about the importance of that intergenerational connection that is centered in the cultural wisdom and the cultural traditions and responsibilities of the elders in our
Mhm.
community. And you express that with great eloquence. And so thank you for that.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
so you mentioned uh, being a part of the survivor community of people who live with HIV. One of the ways in which you live out that experience, that part of who Larry Bryant is with the Reunion Project. Uh,
Yeah.
can you share with us your journey with the Reunion Project?
Yes, I started with the Reunion Project about almost 2 years, going on 2 years now. I am the senior program manager, and I was first drawn to the work of the Reunion Project, you know, several years ago, as an entity that dedicated its energy, its platform, and resources to sharing the experiences of all people living and aging with HIV, just sharing stories. Through those stories, policy and advocacy priorities are developed. Uh, there are strategies for healthy living, um, and just surviving everyday challenges is shared but in networks. So it's about just building those spaces where people can connect. And I wanted to be a part of that as a uh, sometimes photographer and uh, community organizer, uh, putting those skills together to help create safe spaces where diverse communities can share their lived experience while living and aging with HIV, along with allies, people who aren't living with HIV, but still work in the same field, supporting, providing resources for those who need it, and helping to create those safe environments. I wanted to be a part of that, and now that I'm here, we do both events both in person and virtual that help to lift those practices of connecting and convening and developing and supporting content creators with their again their stories of lived experience, their stories of survival, and how that connection helps us individually live outside the boxes of stigma and discrimination and racism and homophobia that sometimes work to keep us, contained and isolated. So I love the work that we do, and obviously we work with different communities and organizations around the country. We're actually planning a town hall in Denver in August, and working with community members there to develop that audience base and participation with the speakers and everything. So it's been an incredible experience being able to hear the voices of that lived experience, voices of people in communities that we don't always hear from, or that we don't encourage or prioritize. So I'm proud to be a part of this movement.
So I want to unpack a couple of things in that, Larry. First, with the last comment, aging while black uh, has started its vertical work, its involvement in digging more deeply into a specific geographic area to center conversations around aging blackness in Denver. And so we've
Yes,
spent the last 6, 8 months building relationship with folks there. So I'm excited to hear about
yes,
that, and there may be some overlap that we can discuss. But there was a very poignant moment for me when you were speaking, and I will share with you why. Because I am old enough to remember when the conversation was about people dying with AIDS or
yes,
dying from AIDS. And then people being able to live a bit longer with AIDS, but still die. Uh,
right.
to this really important shift to people being able to say the words that I am living with HIV. But you used a phrase that shows the progression of things. I am living and aging with HIV, which is it's certainly wonderful news for people and families impacted by HIV, but it also speaks to a really important reality that needs to be considered in the aging conversation more broadly, but for the purposes of our conversation, especially when we talk about Black aging. Uh,
Absolutely.
because we talk about, and I'll ask you in just a moment, we talk about recalibrating the village. Sometimes we don't consider all of the villagers uh, when we talk about the village, and this community is a very important part of that. You also use some words, and there are words that are tantamount to the work that you do, and I want to just share them back at you, uh, and ask you, but why are they important to the work that you do and the work of the Reunion Project? This notion of convene and connect,
Yes,
you really leaned into the storytelling part of it, uh, but also the call to action. Uh, why and why are these words so important in the Larry Bryant and the Reunion Project lexicon?
I think it's important for us to prioritize in the framework of any organizing we do, whether it's in-person programming, whether it's virtual, to open the space for unconditional connection. Like I just made that term up. And it's not about
I
how
love
we
it. I love it.
it's not so much about what we put in the agenda, what we put in the room, what we put on the table for lunch if lunch is being served, but it's how we create a space that's self-directed by the peers who are organizing it. So when participants come, they have an agenda of the events, they have an idea of what the conversation or topics are going to be or could be or have the possibility of being if there are options to that discussion. But each participant can connect in the way that they choose, right? It's not like we are selling toothpaste or apples and we need to have a good shine and they can only buy what we're selling. People are engaged in the way that they, from their own experience, from the comfort of their own experience. And with that support, with that kind of creative safe space, people then are willing to just share themselves, whether it's having a conversation, whether it's getting on a mic and talking about a success story or going back to work, or just to get on a mic to say, this is the first time I've been in a space where I have been able to tell other people, just speak publicly
Right.
of my own HIV diagnosis. So it's just about creating those safe uh, spaces where we convene, a creatively safe and where people can connect in the way they want to. And again, that's how we help develop, instead of just forcing people to come in with a mindset of we're going to talk about this, because we don't experience that. All we're doing is singing writing a song and teaching others the words, as opposed to collectively creating a song together, or having people come in the room with their own song so the entire room is filled with music. And that's the kind of the principle that I have, not just with the Reunion Project and helping to develop the programs that we do, but it's just how I want to engage life. I want to engage life on my own terms, through my own perspective. That whether it's a black male perspective, whether it's a dad perspective, whatever that perspective is, I want to be able to access that connection, develop that, nurture it, and then be able to share it with others. And I think a lot of the organizations that have those uh, kind of networks of connectivity, those networks of participation, that kind of rumble of conversation all the time, not directed by one person, but directed by the crowd in the conversation. And that's what the Reunion Project wants to continue to engage, and how we want to continue to engage.
I love this notion of unconditional connection. As you were speaking, the slight alteration of that to unhindered connections uh, just really resonated with me, because there are a lot of people convening people.
Hmm.
The
Yes.
question is, are we really centering meaningful connections amongst the people who are there?
And
And
and I'm sorry, and who is defining what meaningful is,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And so as an entity that does a lot of bringing people together into the same space, in person and virtually, uh, you have just challenged us to make certain that we aren't inviting people in the room and giving them the sheet music saying, here's what we're going to be playing, and we need you to sing along with us, and then at the
Right.
end of the day, please fill out the evaluation and tell us how great the music was.
There
uh,
you go.
and so I really, really do appreciate that. So
Yes.
we've touched on it in a couple of different ways, but I really want to center it, Larry. The first pillar of Aging While Black is to recalibrate the village. And by that, what we assert is that the infrastructure that supports Black life is ill prepared for the mega shift in aging that has already begun. And so there needs to be some intentional thoughtfulness around how the village truly becomes a place where the villagers can thrive.
Right.
Well, what do you think this notion of recalibrating the village means in the context of long term survivors living and aging with HIV?
I think, and because, well, it's always an election year, but it starts with voting. I'm just going to put that out there. We need to be present and visible and vocal at the election, at the voting booths. Uh, the people that we help put in office help to navigate those paths, those systems that can, as in your words, recalibrate how we approach outreach, recalibrate how we approach systems of care, uh, employment, housing issues, whatever those issues are. We need to have people in office who can influence policies to make those needs a priority, especially in Black communities, all Black communities, where we are not monolith. So we need to make sure that we are
Mm,
our representation is accurate to where we are, and adequate to the priorities that we're seeking. And then we internally, as providers, as advocates, as people who are community gatekeepers, we also, you spoke earlier about how sometimes we develop um, ideas of inclusiveness and then speak to the people that are just within the sound of our voice, or we outreach to those who are familiar to us. We need to go beyond that. We need to assume that the room is bigger. We need to assume that everyone in the room, Spanish isn't their, English isn't their first language, for example. We need to assume that all of us aren't going to be able to get on a train or plane or bus even to go miles to connect, that we need to start creating platforms and on-ramps to platforms that are fully accessible to the audience we want to have, not just the audience we can see or hear. That means, developing technology or supporting and tutoring in spaces where technology is deficient, and creating those spots, those connection points that again go back to what defines meaningful engagement, meaningful action, meaningful priorities from not just the ones making those priorities or with the mic, but those who are out in the communities who are representation of who we all are, and make sure that those collective priorities, that collective definition of what is meaningful and meaningful engagement or meaningfully successful, that those are shared definitions, not just written in a manual somewhere that we all just follow and assume. So we all have a lot of growing to do with that, whether it's intentional growth or unintentional growth through struggles, or because we're just disconnect or we start disconnecting or burning bridges. We have to build the bridge to the community we 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 seek, not just the ones that we see.
Mhm. So I do need to share with you, and we're going to move on, but uh, assume the room is bigger. Uh,
Yes.
You will see that on an Aging While Black T-shirt. I just wanted to share with you.
Uh-uh.
So if you intend to seek royalties, we need to work that out, because it's uh, assume the room is bigger. I mean, there are so many layers to that, uh,
Mhm.
and well, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But thank you for that. What are some of the complexities found at the intersection of aging, race, and HIV in America?
Wow. I mean, there's so many. I mean, we hear about economic struggles that all folks, regardless of economic position or comfortability, are experiencing challenges just staying level in their economic safety or economic status. Poverty is still affecting many of us, and those socioeconomic kind of influences also impact our ability to engage in some of these conversations outside of just trying to stay afloat. So a lot of those kind of personal, individual challenges still remain. People are still trying to get work. We'd love to. I know some great activists in my field that I've worked along for years, but for different reasons they couldn't be or give themselves as much as they could because they had to go pay rent. They had to go and feed their kids. They have to be able to pay for their meds and their health care. So there's a lot of choices we have to make as to how we are engaged, and what does engagement look like. So those challenges still persist. Again, going to the ballot box, the polls, wherever you are this fall or any time really. It's not just this year. Helps to kind of speak to some of those challenges, some of those barriers that prevent us from being as fully engaged as we would like to be, um, and then our own kind of internal, pointing fingers because we don't see people with us regularly. We just assume that people aren't as engaged, or they just choose not to prioritize the issues we prioritize, and we need to be better listeners than just identifiers of who's not doing what we are doing. Social media, there's a lot of social media all-stars out there posting all their work, but not necessarily doing anything to lift the horizon for everyone. So we need to do a better job of looking back, looking to our sides, looking in every direction, and putting a hand out and bringing people to where we are, or us going to where they are, to make sure that we aren't adding and additional layers of disconnect and dysfunction to whatever might be preventing people from being connected as much as they would like.
Thanks, Larry. At Aging While Black, we unapologetically assert that we exist to transform the aging landscape, and we talk
Yes.
about ways that we want to do that. What are some of the I'm sorry, what do you believe is necessary to ensure the realities of Black elders is acknowledged and addressed by the aging ecosystem in America?
I mean, one of the best ways that we both mentioned this a couple of times, is sharing those stories, sharing our experiences, having Black elders in positions where their experience can be shared and heard and studied and analyzed and used to help develop interventions, help develop programs that provide success or improve successful outcomes, healthy outcomes for others. Um, we know, again, I mean, I'm going to keep saying the voting part, but in communities, we have community leaders, we have gatekeepers. All of us can be a face, a voice of change, of prioritization. And as much as we can do to deputize ourselves when necessary, to be able to share our experiences in those moments, speaking to your city council members, speaking to your school boards, sharing with your kids and your family those experiences, and building our own confidence to be able. Sometimes we don't speak up because no one is putting a mic in front of our mouths, or no one really cares or prioritize what we think, and so that prevents us from speaking out. No, we have to find ways to develop our own confidence in these spaces, to be able to show change, and show change by sharing our experiences from where we were to where we are. What was the catalyst that made that change happen? What were the practical elements that made that change happen? And be able to amplify that for others, so that they are also sharing those experiences and challenges. Um, I think if we do more of that and elevate those voices, we will find that a lot of our experiences, a lot of that dysfunction is very similar. Or at
Yeah.
least it comes from similar sources.
Yes.
So, and then we find through that collection, connection, that communication, that then we have shared power, that we might have different parts, different pieces of the puzzle to help solve these things. And so on our side, developing those solutions as a collective community starts to come in place, because our power starts to grow as we collect and connect.
Yeah, and we talk and hopefully work towards at Aging While Black, but we use the language of this co-creation of policy and people-driven responses,
Yeah.
and I heard that so richly in what you were saying. So just to
It's like,
go ahead.
oh, I'm just going to add, I know in the kind of the combination of the last question, what's necessary to ensure those realities, and then going back to some of the complexities found just as a Black man in this country, within the field of HIV. In many cases, Black heterosexual men are the drivers of homophobia that help kind of derail some of the prevention and education methods we want to get to everyone, and just getting into care. Black straight men, Black men are very much involved, obviously, in domestic violence. we need to be a part of those conversations as well as how to eliminate that from our homes and from our challenges. But those are both complex and individualized, although there are numerous situations where these happen, where we can use our power as we are involved in the challenge that we're trying to, provide solutions for. And we can't shy away from that challenge either.
Yeah, and this recognition that power is not a zero sum proposition. That we actually have the ability to collectively create our own power.
Yes,
It is not a finite entity, and
yes.
so thank you for that. And so as we prepare to wrap up, one of the things that we do with the wonderful people who spend time with us in this space is we give you the official awB magic wand. And so it is now in your possession, Larry Bryant. Uh,
Wow.
what are you going to transform about aging in America and why?
Very big question. um, when I first read it, I was like, wow, I have a list. And no matter what I put on the list, I'm going to leave off something. So
Yes.
where I'll start is kind of in my purview, my corner of the work world, and I uh, would like to help transform uh, how uh, the collective Black community supports and integrates Black elders, long-term survivors of HIV, into our, kind of a reciprocal connection that we work to develop um, in concert with each other. In many spaces, people who are Black people, in particular, who are living and aging with HIV, do events, connect with other organizations that are literally or not literally, but are inside that silo of HIV specific, HIV supportive communities. Which is a great, and in a lot of places is a rich collection of organizations, but it's a very small part of the lives of people who live and age with HIV. So developing a more connected, uh, and more educated, more inclusive community network of aging Black folks uh, that have the confidence and even the curiosity to roll down their windows. I guess we used to do it this way. Roll down your windows and speak to the people, on the same highway, traveling in those same directions of trying to, provide the resources to prioritize the dignity and respect of aging Black Americans in this country, particularly those who are living with HIV. We need to do more to develop that uh, uh, element of safety and respect for all of our brothers and sisters, regardless of sexuality, regardless of gender identity, all of us Black children and families and parents and grandparents being able to connect with each other and unify in a way that uplifts us all, uh, regardless of our faith, regardless of our economic, socioeconomic status. Um, and that we as a system begin to define what healthy outcomes look like. That we don't just leave it to the federal government or the health department. We can shape what those prioritized needs are, what a healthy Black life or lives look and sound like in this country, and that we can look forward over the horizon and seeing all of those the numbers that are traditionally negative in Black communities around health, around employment, around whatever it is, that they trend up, and that we become the model of healthcare, the model of community service, the model of whatever we need to be to make sure that we're uplifting and encouraging better health outcomes for all of us.
So we will end this with two uh, bits of aging while black language because the the parallel nature and the connection is just really daunting. And so at Aging While Black, we aspire, we envision this society where black elders are celebrated, supported, and empowered to thrive in every aspect of life. And that is what I heard you describing, this thriving in every area of life. And so to wrap it up, I mentioned before, uh, at Aging While Black, we exist to transform the aging landscape by cultivating a vibrant network of partners, innovation, and opportunities that centers Black elders. You got on a plane a few months ago and you had a hope for connecting with Aging While Black. As we wrap up this conversation today, when you consider this movement, what is your best hope?
Outside of speaking with you, and this is just a wonderful entity that Aging While Black is. I look over my shoulder, not too far sometimes, and I see the young people coming for our stuff. They're coming with intent and purpose, and I feel comfortable with that intent and purpose.
Yeah.
And as much as I can do as a I'm never really comfortable calling myself an elder. I'm more comfortable just I'm an older person. But as whatever I can do in my role, in life experience, whatever I skill, insight I can provide to help support that growth, that evolution of our young Black intergenerational connections going down. I've never been more excited. We look at the news daily, and sometimes there are things to be worried about. There are things to be literally scared of. But one thing that I am always proud of and always supportive of is our young Black people uh, coming after us, and the support, the education, the passion with which that they come at us is immense, and it just makes me proud to to be where I am now and not have as many worries for the future.
I share your optimism. I share your sense of pride in that which is coming. Uh, I also share your intentionality in assuming that responsibility that we have to make certain that we are going about this work in truly intergenerational ways, and that there is this cultural wisdom and this way of being our best selves that we have an obligation to share with the generations that are coming after us. And so, Larry Bryant, thank you. It has been just a joy to share with you, my friend. Thank you for the important work that you're doing. Thank you for pausing long enough to share with us at Aging While Black. I am grateful to you.
And I'm grateful to be here. I look forward to conversations in the future.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us for awB Live, whether you are joining us live or not, or on our YouTube channel. Share this conversation with others around you. It is another one of those really important conversations at the intersection of aging and race in America that doesn't happen nearly enough. And so